Hello, Alleyway Conversation viewers. Once again, I'm Andrew.
And I'm still Patrick.
And today we're going to talk about video games.
Yes.
I know, a difference from what we have been doing.
Yeah, we really do other things other than sit around and watch movies that I like. We also play a lot of video games, and I do mean a lot.
That's how we grew up. Growing up, I had an NES, but that was back in like 95. I actually had one of the rarest game systems. I had a Sega Saturn.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, I owned like a third of the video game market.
Well, and
I had like 4 games. There was only like 12 of them.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. And that was the thing. I'm a huge Sega fan. We are definitely going to talk about that later.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, like, that was around the time I was like, okay, well, Sega's cool, but this is stupid. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Let's hear about that newfangled PlayStation all the kids are talking about. And, I've been a Sony man ever since when it comes to consoles.
And see, I've always been a Nintendo man. I grew up playing the NES. My first new console, because my cousin actually gave me her old NES when she was going through high school. Oh. I guess, video games aren't cool anymore. I don't care.
Meanwhile, we're in our 30s and still playing video games. So.
Oh, yeah. But she gave me her old NES, and, I grew up playing Duck Hunt and Super Mario 1 and 3, because 2 wasn't known to exist back then.
I know it was really cool for me and my NES just because... my dad grew up in the 80s, and he was really big on, video games back then. So, nowadays he's a little bit intimidated by how vastly different video games are, but when it came down to, like, the NES era, that was stuff that he grew up with.
Yeah, the old arcade, Centipede, Pac-Man, Space Invaders. Yeah, video games... don't get me wrong. I was gonna say, they haven't changed a whole lot, but
they've
Pong,
changed very drastically.
Well, I meant by the time the Atari happened, but between Pong and Space Invaders, to us, the graphics and stuff, it doesn't seem like it changed a lot. But that is a really massive improvement from where it used to be.
Well, you could say the same thing about the transition from like PS4 to PS5. Right now, there's really not a whole lot of graphical change. It doesn't look that much better.
I think they put a lot of effort into the controllers, because we've never played the PS5.
No, we're saving up right now.
No, we're not. We're dirt poor.
We're trying. We're trying desperately to save up for it, but...
But my friend Carl, he's got one, and he says it has haptic feedback. I don't know what that means exactly, but for people that don't know, he says that... The game controller, depending on what guns you have, changes how the trigger pulls. Like, if you have, like, an old Smith & Wesson or something, you try to pull the trigger, there's a lot more give on it. You try to pull it on, like, a submachine gun or something, it's a little bit smoother and easier to go with.
That's kind of neat.
That's kind of what I thought. It sounds interesting, but it also sounds like that's about the only thing they did. I don't know.
Also, your Carl impression is spot on. He's a friend of ours, and yes, he does talk like a sock puppet.
Well, he's bald. he's bald with a long beard, and we call him Redbeard. Why? Yeah. Because he has a red beard.
I don't know.
I don't know. So whoever named him wasn't very creative.
Yeah.
But,
they call him Baldhead.
Well, yes. But we had a lot of fun growing up with these games. The very first game system I got was a Nintendo 64, and I loved it.
I feel like for me it's like kind of tricky to tell, because the first video game system I ever owned, my parents got me a Sega Genesis when I was 5, very young. Then I kind of feel like the PS1 era was something I got when I was about 12. To me, that sort of solidified my, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Well, I think the reason you're not a Sega fan for life, the biggest reason, probably is because Sega died after the Genesis, really.
Yeah, well, and somebody pointed out, I think it was AVGN, how there were so many add-ons to it. You had the Sega CD and the 32X, and by the time you got everything on it, it kind of looked like it was just on life support.
Right.
Which is an apt metaphor.
And then Sega Saturn, Not a bad system. I remember thinking it was my first disc game. It did have video on it. I thought it was kind of cool. But I don't know if the problem was the motor that spun the disc went out. I don't know if the laser reader went out, or I've noticed, and it's something I wish I had known back then, that a lot of people, if they have consoles that spin disc, they have to put something really heavy on the door because apparently it doesn't realize it's shut or something.
Yeah. And then, of course, the PS2 was the first gaming console I ever bought with my own money. I'd actually wanted it for a really long time. And, I grew up, maybe not poor, but not particularly well off, so we never got one.
We're in the Midwest. Unless you own a McDonald's, you're not super well off around here.
Yeah, it was just, things were tight, and I ended up, when I got my very first job with my very first paycheck, I thought, well, I've always wanted a PS2, let's do it. So I got that, along with True Crime and the Sonic Mega Collection, because I'm still a big Sega fan.
And see, I'm a huge Zelda fan. The first game I ever played, big surprise, was still considered one of the greatest Zelda games of all time, Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah, because you had an N64.
Yeah, it's not the very first Zelda game I played. I look back, and I think when I had an NES, I played the original Zelda game, because I remember the gold cartridge, I remember my aunt bringing it over and playing with me and showing me the ropes. Never got into the first one. I do now, because I'm actually old enough to understand some of the puzzles that go into it. When you're 4... stick needs to go forward and stab the guy in front of you. That was about as complicated as I got back then.
Yeah.
But Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, got a GameCube and did Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. You know, I will look back. I hated Wind Waker when it first came out strictly for the graphics. I didn't really care for the cartoon graphics. Once you got past it, it's a phenomenal game. I love it now. Now that I can overlook that.
Yeah, like I haven't had a Nintendo console in many years, so I haven't played it, but I've watched a few playthroughs, and it looks really cool.
It is.
In terms of, like, it's definitely one of those games I watched the playthrough, and it just made me want to play it. Like, I didn't even okay, I've got everything I need. No. I want to go out there and play it myself. I want to hang out with, weird, creepy boat dude.
Actually, interesting thing, I heard when they were making Twilight Princess that originally they thought about making Twilight Princess with the Wind Waker graphics.
I feel like Twilight Princess was maybe not necessarily dark, but maybe a little too dark for the fun, happy graphics, you know?
Oh, it would have been. Yeah. I mean, the Twilight realm, the coloring, the shading. Still, even with today's graphics and stuff, I find it to be just an extremely gorgeous and beautiful game. Very fine detail in it.
I actually remember that. That was the first, newer game, next-gen game that I'd ever seen played, and we were sitting there in your living room playing it, and just I was just, oh my god, that looks so cool! You know?
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of the PS2, I did eventually get one, but not until I was in Job Corps. And I was 20 at the time.
Yeah.
My mom got me a PS2 for Christmas, because it was boring at Job Corps. Once you were done with your workday, I'd basically sit in my room and I could go bowling that they had set up in a trailer. Oh. And in case you can't tell, trailers aren't level. So bowl down the middle. Hey, I got a gutter ball. Yeah. Throw it to the left side of the lane. Hey, it went in the right gutter. Okay, come on. There's one lane that was kind of straight, and it was still warped down it. There wasn't a whole lot to do there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what's great about Job Corps is that you can suddenly get the college experience regardless of how wealthy you are. And everything you talk about just kind of reminds me of hanging out with college students, just eating garbage and messing with incredibly ghetto stuff. It would be ghetto if you weren't in your 20s and
actually
a full-time,
in the ghetto.
Yeah. Well, I mean, struggling with being a full-time student, trying to make a little bit of extra money on the side too. Mm-hmm. that's just what it feels like to me.
Oh yeah. Well, I can say I got some really, really good games for the PS2.
Ooh.
I got Guitar Hero because I remember playing it when I was in high school. It was huge, and I still loved it.
I don't know. Like, I remember in my bassist was really angry about it too.
That you played or didn't play?
Well, I played it a little bit, and I was just like, well, this is cool, but, I mean, I can actually play guitar. Like, I can play some of these songs.
I'm sorry, I can't. I have retard fingers.
Yeah.
No.
So, well, I mean, I'm not gonna hate on anyone. And to be fair, it did actually have a really good soundtrack, which I guess you kind of have to do, but...
Well,
you know.
until you got to, like, the named bands, like, hey, this is Guitar Hero Aerosmith. That's great, but Aerosmith has, like, 5 songs I really like,
Yeah.
whereas Guitar Hero 2 had, like, the best soundtrack of them all. Guitar Hero 1 had some great songs, Guitar Hero 3 had some great songs. 2
when it
2
came
is where
down-
I found, like, songs I still listen to today, like Paint It Black, and,
Weirdly enough, Lego Rock Band was pretty good.
oh god, they made a Lego Rock Band?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say like the gameplay was good, but the soundtrack selection was passable. They had David Bowie
Oh, man.
and
Rem-
the
remember
Ghostbusters
when-
song.
Remember when the craze went so far they tried to put Guitar Hero on the 3DS?
Oh yeah, it was Guitar Hero on tour or something, and
Right.
it was just the dumbest.
It had it was a little contraption that you plugged your 3DS into, had like 2 or
Yeah.
3 of the buttons, and you were supposed to strum the bottom. And I'm like, how are
Yeah.
you supposed to pretend that's a guitar? The top
Yeah,
screen
you-
doesn't come off. Well, if it was broken like all of mine seemed to, it did, but you didn't want it to.
Yeah,
How are
yeah.
you supposed to look at what notes come?
I don't know. It was just like I can see it for like kids who just want to temporarily live out that rock star fantasy. But I actually was not necessarily a rock star, but a musician.
You
And
know,
it's just like this is a waste of time. I should be actually practicing.
if they had kept making just regular Guitar Hero with some of the best songs of all time, I might still have one. But then they came out with well, I can't say the stupidest. But Nintendo showed us that you can make some really god-awful extras to your games.
Yeah,
But
I love the glove. It's
DJ
so
Hero.
bad.
DJ Hero.
Yeah, you ever want to pretend to be a record player?
No.
No, nobody does.
Yeah. Well, nobody's buying our guitars. Well, first off, your guitars were a little expensive, but they were still cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, fair enough.
And,
Like, I definitely see the appeal.
Rocksmith had a great idea where you could plug in a real guitar and you could strum along and it would teach you how to play
Yeah.
along with some amazing songs and in a game mode. I actually own Rocksmith for the PS4 and on Steam, and I thought it was great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I
it-
didn't have any problem. There was also a feature in Guitar Hero 5, which was kind of towards the tail end of it being a fad.
Yeah.
It also had, like, the weirdest collection of celebrity guests. Like, Johnny Cash was in it, Kurt Cobain was in it, I believe Jimi Hendrix was in World Tour, which was the 4th game, which was when it was at its peak. And it's never explained!
Why not? Did it rain purple while you were there?
No, it was The Wind Cries Mary, but at the same time. It was just like, you're sitting there, you're opening up, you got that intro coming along where the band's all getting ready, and out of nowhere, there comes Jimi Hendrix. And nobody talks about it, nobody really, he never
Explain?
comes up again. It was strange.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite games for the PS2, I've never seen anybody talk about it. I've heard about it once, but only in video games with strange endings.
Oh.
Drakengard.
I'm not familiar with it, honestly.
So, it's an amazing game. It kind of reminds me of Dynasty Warriors.
Oh yeah.
So, it's like Dynasty Warriors before Dynasty Warriors was a thing, I think. No, because Dynasty Warriors came out on the Sega Dreamcast. It's an old game, I think.
Oh yeah, it's been around for a long time. It created its own genre. Because right now there's Persona 5 Strikers, which is like Dynasty Warriors, but somehow even more anime because it's a Persona game.
Yeah. So you play as a character, you go through, you kill people, you're trying to complete an objective, and when you get to the final castle, in the very first level, you get stabbed in the back and it's a fatal wound. And then this dragon gets shot down, crashes into the courtyard, it's fatally dying.
Oh, yeah.
So you go over to kill the dragon, but you really can't make it, and the dragon's like, I have a proposal for you. I'm dying, you're dying. Neither one of us really want that.
No.
So they merge their souls together, and and at this point they're healed.
Right.
And as long as one doesn't die, the other doesn't die. So it's not quite immortality, but it's really a lot harder to kill either one of them. And now you can do these missions where you're flying on the back of a dragon through battlefields. Oh. You can breathe fire. And then when you get to castles you're supposed to take over, you jump off, you run through them, slaying people. Yeah. If there's big cracks in the wall, you can stick your head in like Alduin in Skyrim and hi!
I feel like that was actually somewhat reminiscent of Panzer Dragoon, which was an RPG by, guess what, it was Sega.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah, you could control like a dragon rider and control the dragon and stuff. It was really good.
Well, the thing, I never got to complete the game because I came home from Job Corps, I grabbed the wrong backpack off the Greyhound bus, and I returned their bag. Apparently they never did, or Greyhound thought there was too much good crap in there, because it had my PS2, it had my 360 in it, had just a binder full of movies and video games and all that stuff.
I actually remember I borrowed an anime from you, and I was going to give it back, but I forgot it at home when we met up and visited. So then, like, when I heard later that you got your bag stolen, I was just like, wow.
Kind of glad I still have this.
Yeah, I'll give that back later.
So, really good game. Loved the PS2. Loved the Xbox. Kevin had that growing up, and when he was living with us, I got to play the original Xbox a lot.
Oh yeah, and I mean he stopped at the Xbox, like that was as advanced as he wanted to get. I don't know if he's changed his mind since then.
I would hope so, because something tells me that Xbox probably doesn't still work.
Yeah, he was really big on that cinder block of his.
Hey, you know what? I've heard a story where this roommate got tired of his roommate playing the original Xbox all times of day and night. He gets fed up, pulls a .38 caliber pistol, goes in there, says, "Screw you!" shoots the Xbox, barely leaves a scratch on it, doesn't skip, nothing.
Oh yeah, well that's why a lot of people do call it the cinder block model. Because it's big, it's bulky, and you cannot destroy it.
There's only two things known to man that is more powerful than the cinder block. There is the brick, the original Game Boy handheld, and the Nokia cell phone.
Yeah, man. Like, they just did not. They just, like, maxed out on the durability of electronics back in, like, the early 2000s.
It was a glorious time. Yeah. I remember my PS4, it was sitting on a table, like, 4 feet off the ground. Somebody hits the table, it flips, falls, and lands on the cartridge on the ground, and I'm like, no, because I hadn't saved in like an hour, and I look at the game, still running, didn't care.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays, but it could be a sign of the time, because nowadays you barely flick a PS4 and it starts to wig out. I
actually remember I had to trade in the PS3 that I got. One of the, I wouldn't say one of the original PS3s, but one of the older ones. It was before they went like pro. And I had it, I was holding it at like arm level, so we're talking about maybe 4 feet off the ground. It wasn't running or anything, and I just like dropped it, hooked it back up, and it never worked again, so I had to buy a PS3 off of you.
Well, it wasn't me. I never owned a PS3.
Oh yeah, you bought me a PS3 in exchange for the Xbox One.
Oh,
because I played it for a little bit. I liked it okay, but I wasn't crazy about it. And
I had a 360, and after that I went to PS4. Not because I didn't like the 360 or Xbox, it's just my friend Carl already had a PS4. I knew one or two other people that had one. So if I wanted to play multiplayer, I had to get a PS4 because nobody I knew had an Xbox One that I played with.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I'm gonna have to move on and get used to Xbox. That's why I've been playing the crap out of your Xbox One. Just because one of my favorite game franchises of all time is owned by Bethesda. It's the Fallout games. And if I ever want to play a new Fallout game or a new Elder Scrolls game, or dare I say, get into Doom that's not the old PC games.
Hey, I will say I say the original Doom, but the new Doom,
Yeah.
that's the first in the series, it's actually really good.
Oh yeah, I've seen playthroughs. It looks okay. I just, you know.
If you ever want have your brain go numb, like, somebody described it to me, and they're like, there is a story, there is, but you actually have to kind of look for it, and if you don't give a crap, you just want to run and shoot everything in the face and rip gonads off and shove it in eye sockets.
Rip and tear, rip and tear.
Yeah, then go for it. Otherwise, it's, hey, you got a codex over here. You can learn more about the Doomslayer.
Yeah.
The only thing I need to know is, he knows how to cock a gun and shoot. Plow, plow.
There was actually a Doom comic, which to this day will always be possibly my favorite comic of all time.
Do tell.
It was made in the 90s. You can tell. It is just this guy, the Doom guy, who's just in rapture and having a blast like he's at Disneyland, just tearing apart alien demons or whatever Doom's about. Does anyone know? Does anyone care? We're all just happy to blow up things.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty amazing things. You know what that reminds me of? Oh my god, I think I might know who the Doom guy is.
The Doom guy is a fucking escaped mental patient, I'm fairly certain.
So, did you know they made a comic about the Punisher? I love the Punisher.
The Punisher's cool.
He's one of my favorite comic book characters, and what happened is I don't know exactly how they got there, but the Punisher commits suicide.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not because he wants to.
Yeah.
But like a demon got control of a little girl or something, and he was going to kill her unless the Punisher killed himself. So he does.
Okay.
Oddly enough, he does go to heaven.
Dope.
But the only reason he goes there is because the angel Michael, whichever one does all the fighting. I can't remember which one.
I think that's Saint Michael.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So anyway, this archangel goes up to Doomslayer, goes up to the Punisher and is like, hey, I've got something for you. And he gives him a holy weapon, something, I don't know. It basically lets him turn into Deadpool, as in, he has something that could turn into any weapon he needs whenever he wants to. It just morphs into it. Never has to worry about ammo or nothing. And then, they send him to hell to have fun.
Oh, God. Yep. Confirmed, Frank Castle is Doom guy.
Right? I'm sorry. I loved it. I've never read the comic. I really, really want to.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of the whole thing about the Doom comic. It was just the Doom guy having just the time of his life, slaughtering demons and stuff.
Remember when the Tom Nook games come out?
Oh yeah, Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and the new Doom game in Animal Crossing was supposed to come out in like the same week, and there was all of that wonderful comics about Isabella, the little puppy dog from Animal Crossing, is spending time with Doom Guy, and there was just the most beautiful things. Like, on one, it shows them hanging out, and then the next panel, there's the Doom Guy picking flowers.
Yeah.
And in the next panel, there's Isabella murdering demons with a chainsaw gun.
Yeah, like, I was totally imagining just, like, him and the Doom guy and Isabella just hanging around, having tea, like...
fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a demon. And things get real.
Everything goes wrong now.
Wait a minute, Mr. Doom Guy. Why do I hear death metal coming over the hill?
Don't question it. That just happens. Rip and tear! Rip and tear!
Oh, hey. Well, time for me to get back to work. And I saw one where Doom Guy actually dies, and he's like on his back, he's bleeding out, and he goes, my time has come. I pass it on to you, and hands a gun to somebody, and then it shows Isabella reaching out, grabbing the gun, and then it's like 10 years later, and it shows her like as tall as the Doom guy, wearing the Doom guy outfit and everything, and she's just murdering. She's got earrings and a face tattoo now.
Yeah, Isabella from Animal Crossing is the next only logical successor to the Doom guy.
I loved it. I thought it was cute. It was campy and murder.
Oh god, that is like my two modes. I do like cute, fun things that, like, I like to build things. That was my favorite part of Skyrim, was like building your own house and stuff. And then there are other times I just want to like slaughter zombies for a couple hours.
Right. All right. Like where's the nearest mine or something? I just feel like crushing someone's head in with this giant hammer.
Oh god, I fucking loved Warhammers in Skyrim.
See, and you're more of a Fallout guy. I was more of an Elder Scrolls guy, and that was okay. Yeah. You actually introduced me through Morrowind, which is a terrible game to get started on, to be honest with you.
It would be if you hadn't already played live D&D. And,
no, I had never played D&D or anything back then.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, I didn't get started with that till Job Corps.
Okay, yeah, I'm a jerk then.
Like, right before I played Morrowind, I played the first Fable game.
Yeah.
And then I played Morrowind and completely and totally lost. Didn't know what fast travel, which you couldn't fast travel in that game.
No.
Constantly got lost. Was there even a map function in that game?
There was. It was, like, really janky, though. Because, you know, original cinder block Xbox, amazing piece of machinery, not the most technically advanced.
But, and then I got to Job Corps, and I bought 2 games while I was there for my laptop. I bought Oblivion and Fallout 3.
Yeah.
And I loved both of them. I did,
Fallout 3 was, my first... I feel like it's a lot of people's first Fallout game.
Well, I think Fallout 1 and 2 was more of a click-based game, not so much as like roaming and adventuring.
It was an RPG in the sense it was a very 90s RPG. It actually did play out a little bit like, I don't know, Final Fantasy or something.
Well, it was a PC game. It didn't come out on consoles, did it?
No, it didn't.
So, and I don't know how many of you remember what 90s PC gaming was like, but
oh boy.
Yeah,
I do.
I played Unreal Gold. This was back before it became Unreal Tournament, which is the only thing people talk about. Unreal Gold, I loved Unreal Gold. It was amazing. No, it's not just a graphics engine. Come on, people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was such a versatile engine, though. It was used for everything.
But Unreal Gold actually had a first-person mode. It had an adventure mode. It wasn't all just jump in here and shoot. Find the nuke and blow up the map or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Which I still did. I played Unreal Tournament trying to find Unreal Gold for years. Never could find it again. I don't even know where my stepmom found that. I think my stepbrother Heath, he had it, and don't know where he found it either. I would love to find out, though.
Yeah.
It's a great game. But yeah, I mean, that was a very ahead of its time game. I mean, mid-90s was like the Oregon Trail and stuff like that.
And then once it got into like the late 90s, King's Quest, that's another great example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like things kind of got revolutionized when Blizzard came around and they started making like Warcraft and Diablo and stuff like that. And from there on out, like, the late 90s, early 2000s were kind of like a lawless wasteland when it came to PC gaming.
Well, because that's also when you got Flash games.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then, yeah, like, which died last year.
So you have, I've heard about that. Let's have a moment of silence for Flash animation. Think about our fond memories with Ego Raptor. Yeah, Newgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good times. But
it was
especially since we were poor as hell and couldn't afford to like go out and get a PS1 or anything.
Yeah. But it was good times, you know. It was something to do in the computer lab at school, and it was very interesting times.
Yeah. I mean, actually, because of its very homemade feel, and because, hey, I'm a punk. I I like handmade stuff made by someone who has a lot of passion for what they do. I actually had a lot more fun with Flash games than I did actual, like, PS1 games.
Well, that's because those old Flash games, they were like 5 minutes long, had very campy things, and took like 30 seconds to download. And there were thousands of them. They're kind of like the games catalogs of today. Today you can go out and, man, I don't feel like playing this game. Hey, let's look on the Xbox Marketplace, the PlayStation Marketplace, Steam, and get hundreds of thousands of games.
Oh, yeah.
You had to go to video stores and rent games back then. There was the Blockbuster and Pop and Go and stuff.
Yeah, towards the end of it, you could actually just go to a pawn shop, but you still have to go all that way, and you have to, like, do I really want to spend $15 on this, which I'm not even sure if I like or not?
Oh, yeah, the video game reviews of the 90s was a hellscape, because, hey, how am I supposed to know if this is good? Nowadays you go into YouTube or you load up an independent... Because I don't trust those big game reviewers, because it's all, hey, like our game or we'll never send you anything else to review and you'll be dead in the water. Or, here's $10,000, like our game.
Yeah.
Which was pretty notorious back in the day.
But back then it was like you had to spend about $15 on an EGM, which, God, I hope they're still around.
I do not know what you're talking about.
It was a magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
most magazines aren't a thing anymore.
Yeah, you're right, but I don't know. Sean Baby, Shoo, I hope you're all doing great. But, you'd have to go out and, like, actually buy a magazine and see what they thought of the game. And then you'd be like, okay, is this something I want to get? They like it, but I'm not sure if I'll like it,
Oh, yeah.
And nowadays, you could just, like, grab something for, like, 99 cents off of Steam, and
then if you
even
don't
if
like
you
it,
don't
it's a
like
bug.
it, yeah, who cares?
But yeah, that was Oblivion, and Fallout 3 was my first introduction to truly Bethesda games, because I don't think I ever played anything before that.
You tried with Morrowind, but Morrowind's not easy, I'll give you that.
It's something I might be able to go back into now after I'm done vomiting looking at the graphics.
It is not easy to look at by today's standards.
It is not a pretty game.
Yeah, no.
But I did Oblivion first because I'm more of a fantasy player than I am a sci-fi.
Naturally.
And I like my swords and bows versus guns. Yeah. But I downloaded them both on the old laptop. I loved Oblivion. I mean, learning how to lockpick, making armor, all that kind of stuff. I loved it. And I still play it to this day. I've got it sitting on the shelf in there.
Well, and I will give you this. I always really like the setup that Elder Scrolls games have. Like, if you want to get your, say, lock picking up, you have to go out and pick some locks.
Or you have to pay someone an outrageous sum of gold for them to level you up. And even then, you can only do it by very small increments.
Yeah, so it replicates the college experience in that way really well. But at the same time with Fallout, it kind of feels like you play the game. Like, you discover something, you get EXP. You shoot something, you get EXP, and that EXP can be for anything. So if you shoot enough rad roaches, eventually you'll be able to lockpick really, really well.
Whereas in Elder Scrolls, when you level up, you have to choose stamina, health, or magic, and then if you want to learn something, you actually have to practice it.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Fallout, but, when I tried Fallout 3, I prefer my melee weapons. So when I found out that I could melee...
Oh, melee's useless in Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah, I learned that because I put... Like, the first time you play it, I'm like, hey, I've got a stick. Yeah, I'm beating rad roaches to death.
Yeah.
So I put all of my stats into strength and health. Because if you're going to be a melee character, you got to be able to hit really hard and take the hits as you're getting to them.
Yeah.
No problem. This, I can do that. The instant I get out of the starting area, I beat a couple of mole rats, and as I'm heading to the main city, hey, there's an enemy, I'm gonna run up to him. I get maybe 50 yards from the guy, and I just die. And I'm like, what the hell? So I ran up 2, 3, 4, 5. keep dying. Come to find out, it's a super mutant with a rocket launcher, and I don't care how much strength and health you have. You're done for.
Yeah, like anywhere below like level 10 or so, like super mutants, you don't want to party with them. No.
I wish I had known that.
And that's been universal for any Fallout game. Even in Fallout 4, which... Alright, I'm one of the, like, 5 Fallout fans that genuinely liked Fallout 4.
I liked 4.
Well, yeah.
It was easier for me to get into.
Well, yeah, but you're also not a Fallout fan. And, I mean...
You're right.
Actual people who'd been playing the Fallout games up until this point thought it was stupid. It took away from role-playing. It was way too hand-holdy. I liked it.
Considering my take on it, and I wasn't a huge Fallout... I love the story of Fallout 3. I love watching people play Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot stand to play it.
Well, yeah. And I get that. I'm really glad you didn't get, like, a Game of the Year edition, because you would last, like, 5 seconds in the pit.
What's the pit?
It's something even worse than what you're thinking of. So you're probably imagining, like, some kind of crazy coliseum, right?
Yes.
No. It's Pittsburgh.
Oh, God.
I know. And let me tell you, the apocalypse did not help it out any at all.
Is that like Detroit? There could be an apocalypse there and nobody would know?
No, it actually did get worse.
Ooh, how is that possible?
I don't know. But they made it happen, and now they're slaves, and there's like a steel mill, and you gotta go out into the wasteland, and there's Pittsburgh natives.
Ew.
I mean, they're called troglodytes, but yeah, they haven't changed
they're
much.
Pittsburghians. No, I like troglodytes better.
Yeah, they they don't wear clothes, they eat human flesh. So
how is this different from modern day?
I mean, they don't have slaves in Pittsburgh.
Oh no, there's a lot of underground tunnels from the Shanghai days. So let's get back to a nicer topic.
Yeah, you know what? So another one that I feel like I'm shoehorning it in, but at the same time, if we're talking about different video game series that we absolutely love, I cannot go through this without talking about the Yakuza games. Again, Sega. I love Sega. I feel like it was their take on, like, gangster games that were being a really big deal at the time with, like, Grand Theft Auto and Sleeping Dogs and stuff like that.
True Crime.
True Crime, that's another great example. Which Sleeping Dogs was a true crime game. In a way, it's complicated. But,
look it up. We don't have another 20 minutes to tell you about this
thing. It really is, like, kind of a situation there. But yeah, I actually, in my teen years, that was when Netflix was another crazy lawless wasteland. And
when Hulu used to be free, you didn't. There was no subscription. It was, hey, here's Hulu. You can watch all the TV you want and sit through an ad like normal TV.
And you could watch like the craziest, weirdest movies on Netflix.
I kind of miss those days.
I do too.
I know this is going to surprise some of our younger listeners, but back then, Netflix actually sent you DVDs in the mail.
Well, yeah, but that was around the time they started doing streaming too.
Yeah, but streaming was was pretty difficult for some people because that really high-speed internet wasn't very common outside of really big cities.
Yeah, that's true. So you'd have to wait like a couple of minutes. I know it actually was a thing. I would just take it as real life. I'd like pick out a movie on Netflix, go out and have a cigarette, and by the time I came back, it'd be almost done.
Remember GameFly?
Oh yeah, that can't still be a thing.
I doubt it. I remember in about 2012 is about when it was still fairly decent. It was kind of like Netflix. You told them what games you wanted. They'd send you 2 or 3 in the mail. And okay, I played this. I liked it. I'm going to send this one back now that I'm done. And then you kept playing the other ones until a new one came in. Or if you liked the game, you could buy it from them, and then they would actually mail you the video game case.
Yeah.
So that way, it was really cool.
I actually remember, I want to say it was Slow Beef, but I don't want to confirm that. Because I watched a lot of Slow Beef back in the day. But one of the guys who regularly plays and reviews and does stuff for video games actually pointed out that, like, I can get so much more done with GameFly. Just because you can rent out a game, you can play it for a week, you can get as in detailed as you want, and then just send it back, and you get next week's game after that. So
that was really cool.
Yeah,
it was a very cool concept because a lot of people wanted to try games, and a lot of publishers were kind of doing away with their free trials for games. It was becoming much rarer. You know, nobody really did the free trials on consoles as much.
well, I mean, internet on consoles wasn't nearly as common as it is today.
Oh yeah. So, and at this point, movie streaming was so popular that most of the video game renters were gone. And that's how I used to find out if I wanted a game. You go to MovieGo or something, you rent a game, you play, and man, this is really cool. And then you just never returned it. You just paid the late fee, or you actually went to find your own copy if it wasn't so rare. I don't know how, but I swear Pop and Go and all those video rental places had backdoor connections to the underworld of gaming, because they used to have some titles I've never even heard of before or since. I'm like, what? Did they only make like 3 copies? How did we get one?
And getting ourselves back to where we need to go, that actually is funny how you mention that. Because I ended up, like, I'm a big Sega fan. I research a lot about Sega games. But I actually found Yakuza on accident. I was sitting there over at Movie Gallery, which was a lot like a Blockbuster, except it wasn't evil. And I was like skimming through a few things, and I found Yakuza for the PS2. Well, I have a PS2. This guy's tattoo looks really cool. I don't know, I like gangsters. I'd probably like Japanese gangsters, so the name Yakuza kind of makes sense. And then I saw it was Sega, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, this is like the trifecta here.
Everything you could possibly want. The only thing that could have made it better is if there was pirates in it.
Yeah, pirates or maybe Vikings, but dude, they actually do have a spin-off series where they go into feudal Japan. And it actually would be kind of cool to see Andre Richardson as a Viking who randomly stops in.
I'm here to say hi.
No.
I don't know why my Viking sounded Swedish.
Well, I mean, it's Scandinavian, but at the same time, no, Andre Richardson had like a very like monotone. I work for Black Monday. They should be up on the roof right now.
Who's Black Monday?
Black Monday, you can kind of tell they're a mercenary group from Yakuza 3. And that was kind of the whole thing that I was trying to get at with the whole Netflix thing, is that I ended up watching a lot of foreign crime drama, and I fell in love with the genre as a whole. And really, Yakuza feels like a love letter to, like, foreign crime drama. Well, it's
kind of like how The Godfather was?
Yeah, exactly. Well, The Godfather sort of was well, for one, it wasn't foreign, but at the same time...
but it was more like a love letter to like a dramatization of how the mob is portrayed, you know? All those people are like, if you're outside the mob looking in, man, it looks like a glorious world where everybody's dressed in suits, everybody follows a hierarchy, and they all seem to do really well. And if you're in the mob, it's like, all right, Jimmy the Weasel over there, I think he's a rat.
Yeah.
No, he's a weasel.
Yeah, it actually is like, it is one of those things, like, I forget what was going on, but I actually watched like a real ex-mobster go over like media, and he actually pointed out like it's a lot more like The Simpsons, you know, their Italian crime syndicate, rather than like anything you'd see in a Scorsese film.
Really?
Yeah, like, they really are just like, because it's another day at the office for them. And so they goof around, they make jokes, they have petty arguments.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to be in the mob more.
You don't, because you'll die.
Hey, I mean, I either am I get to wear a nice suit, so I mean, at least when I go to that big matzo ball place in the sky, I'm dressed well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's definitely one of those things, it looks cool, and it kind of is cool, but you gotta work really hard to make it happen.
Because there's a lot of low-level runners and stuff like that. To be one of the, I would say, iconic people that you see in the mob, I'm sure you gotta prove yourself heavily.
Oh, yes.
So, speaking on some of the things that we did back in the day, still, I love the KOTOR games. For those of you who don't know what that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, so they actually named it after what could possibly be a Star Wars character.
Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, there might be a dude named KOTOR somewhere in the Star Wars extended universe.
I mean, I'm sure there's somebody named Click Click Buddy Click. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
they just get a little creative with the names. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. But I loved KOTOR. Loved KOTOR 2, 1, and unfortunately they did what Bethesda did with the Elder Scrolls series. They turned a very popular game into an MMO and then basically stopped touching it.
Yeah, and I really hope that doesn't happen with Fallout, because don't tell me that 76 is the last game.
Sorry, there's going to be about 1,000 DLC, and that's all you'll ever get.
I feel like that might have kind of happened with Rockstar, with, like, Grand Theft Auto 5. Now there's Grand Theft Auto Online, and everyone's playing it.
And they're not even working on 6, as far as I know.
Probably not. But at the same
Why is
time,
everything going MMO? I don't like MMOs.
Yeah, no, but they're finding it's a really nice way of making a lot of money. But the good news about Rockstar is that they actually ended up making Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yay!
Which was something I wanted for a long time, because I love spaghetti westerns. And, yeah, they have an online mode, and there's actually a little bit DLC for that. But at the same time, like, clearly they spared no expense for, the actual story mode. It's well written, it's well acted. The gameplay's really tight.
Most video games that focus on multiplayer, if they do have a single player mode, I almost feel like it's just kind of slapped on. They don't put a lot of effort into it. GTA 5, I don't feel like did that, but that could be because they made the first player mode, and then people are like, hey, why don't you make an online mode?
Yeah.
So maybe the game came first, and then all the online stuff happened.
It's a possibility.
Because there are some games that, I don't know, remember Battlefront 2? And not the good one on the PS2, I'm talking about the modern day one.
I'm actually, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I haven't played a ton of Star Wars games.
I enjoyed it.
Like, I played the first Battlefront, I liked it.
Yeah,
but
the reason I loved Star Wars games was because one of the first ones I played was KOTOR. KOTOR and the Battlefront games. I loved them. I've always loved them. I cannot stand what they turned into modern day, or at least Battlefield. They haven't touched KOTOR. Dang it, just give me a KOTOR game again!
I remember actually one night, me and a friend rented out an N64. Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore, that you could rent out consoles occasionally.
Yeah.
And it came with some kind of first-person shooter. I think it was Shadows of the Empire or something like that.
Okay.
It was a Star Wars game, and we played that all night, like until dawn.
There were few games that I could do that with. The original Fable, I got it on a Friday night after school.
Well, because there's always something you need to do.
Yeah, just one more thing,
yeah.
And it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun's starting to come up, and I go, oh, that's late. Game over? What? Oh, I beat the game in basically one sitting, and my friend wakes up going, "Oh, hey, you still playing that?" I go, not anymore, apparently.
Yeah, I guess that's the end, and I'm going to go to bed now.
Yeah, I remember, because I took that game, I went back to the video store, and I'm like, "Hey, I beat this game in, like, 10 hours. Can I trade it in? Because I have this game for 3 days. Can I just trade it in and get something else?" And she had to call her manager, like, "I don't know, is that something we can do?"
Yeah, we've never seen this level of stupid.
Probably. But I ended up getting San Andreas instead. So
which it'll take you a lot more.
Yeah, I did not beat it in that time, which is fine, because I still had fun with it, but I loved the Fable 1 game. But I loved the San Andreas game. It was also good. But I loved Fable 1. And, it made me so mad. Fable 2 came out. I was so excited. I think I even bought a 360 just so I could... Well, that's not the main reason why I bought a 360. I actually bought 360 for Dragon Age Origins. I saw the commercials and, yes! And then Fable 2 came out, and I was like, oh, this is garbage.
See, and it's kind of weird how that works out. I actually ended up getting into Dragon Age because a girl I was dating was really into it.
You know, that's the only reason I got on Facebook. I looked at Facebook like, this is stupid. And then my girlfriend was like, hey, you should get on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, it worked out a lot better for me for a lot of different reasons. But one of the big ones is I actually ended up finding a video game franchise I really liked. We were actually talking about this before the show.
And we're just sitting here ranting on Dragon Age. I'm like, whoa, hang on, let me hit record first.
Yeah. We tend to have a couple of minutes beforehand to kind of warm up, get into like podcast mode. And
sometimes we forget we're not in podcast yet.
Yeah. But yeah, it actually you actually point out you wouldn't necessarily prefer the Mass Effect games, but you like the fact it's pretty much, it's the same game. You have a real basic idea of what you're getting into when you buy a Mass Effect game.
And then when you get into Dragon Age, every game is different.
Yeah.
The first Dragon Age is, I don't know how I would put it, like Final Fantasy 13, the semi-turn-based game. It's an RPG.
It always reminds me of Final Fantasy 12 more, but I don't...
Isn't Final Fantasy 12 an online game only?
No, you're thinking of Final Fantasy 11.
Oh, 14 also. I think 14's an online game.
Yeah, 14 is also online, but...
But yeah, you have stats, you increase them, and I love RPGs, so yeah. I loved the first game.
The second one had more of like an action RPG kind of feel to it.
It turned into a button masher. That's what I call it. When it's not as that you still have strategy to it, but it's more of, oh crap, hit A.
Well, and I kind of feel like it actually felt a little bit more like medieval Mass Effect. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because I tend to play as a warrior build. I tend to play as a warrior build in most fantasy games.
And I go with rogues because it's just what I love to do.
Whereas you actually have to strategize and plan. Meanwhile, I have to grab the biggest stick I can and whack people with it until there are no more people left to whack.
Oh, did that grease stain just move?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it. And I had fun with that.
And I don't know,
the story was really good too.
I did love it. The extra voice acting you got from your own character, so you could hear yourself.
Yeah.
Although it was kind of odd because it's like, hey, do you want to say this, or this? Okay, I want to say this, and then your character kind of says not that. And you're like, how that is not what I meant to say. Oh God, I did not mean to be an asshole. I'm sorry. I thought that was the nice guy option.
That is easily my least favorite part of Fallout 4, but
I did enjoy the story of the game. I did love it. Maybe if there was...
The characters were really good. Varric's like smooth and suave, and
I loved Isabella. She was maybe it's just because she was a rogue, and she should have been your favorite. She was a pirate captain.
Yeah, you would think, but at the same time, I don't know. I just like someone pointed out that Meryl actually looks a lot like Winona Ryder, who was my very first crush.
I think mine was Sandra Bullock.
That's also reasonable, but at the same time, like I just saw her and I heard her get all flustered, and she got just so damn cute.
I know.
Like,
Like the
I
girl
actually-
next door vibe kind of thing.
I just remember just sitting there watching her like ramble on, and I just like, damn it, I'm in love with you now.
Oh man.
But yeah, then in the third game, it was like
A giant open world bullcrap. I'm sorry, when I could walk from one place and another place be like 20 feet from it and it'd be completely separate level restrictions. Like my biggest one was probably in the very first starting region. You run up to camp, you kill like a bunch of level 3 enemies,
right.
and you're like, hey, look, there's a tunnel right next to me. You walk like 20 feet, you're in this open area, and you're like, oh, okay, nothing changed. And then a dragon just swoops by and one shot.
Yeah, and that will always irritate me, but at the same time, like, I kind of like the fact you could just randomly wander in somewhere that you're totally not supposed to.
And see, I don't know, maybe I did like 3 a little bit better than 2 in, if I'm not mistaken, you can just hold the basic attack button and you'll just attack. Unlike 2, where you actually had to each individual attack hit the freaking button. I'm like, come on, I just want an auto attack like the first game. Run up there, hit or hold the attack button, and then while my character's doing basic stuff, I can be, okay, I need to focus on them, they're not doing so hot, these people over here need some health, I need to back up because I'm not doing so great.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's just a very simple, attack action, but because I have to do it, I just feel like it draws a little bit more of my attention away from the rest of the battle. And nobody else can really strategize, because I know they have that strategy screen where, hey, when your health gets below 25%, drink a potion, do this, do that. But AI gets retarded.
On that note, I just want to point out, like, just because the whole healing thing made me think of Wynn, because she's, like, a healer. Kind of wish it was a romance option. Is that totally freaking weird?
Only because she's like 50-something.
Yeah, but I mean, and that was kind of the state of PS3 games, or like Xbox 360, whichever you played. Like, you notice they all have the same, like, body model.
What's wrong with the hourglass figure?
I don't hate it. I'm just saying she is just as fit as, like, Morgan or Liliana.
I mean, I love Morgan, but talking about Mass Effect, and we're talking about age, it really depends upon your race. Cause look at the blue chick from Mass Effect. Yeah, Liara. She's what, 130, 150? She's a romance option. You're 30-something.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just a century too young for me. You're like a little baby. Please don't do that. I have chin hair and I've murdered people.
Yeah. It's very distracting, but at the same time, and I think the Turians, like Garrus, they don't particularly last.
I mean, he was a romance option.
Yeah. He they don't have any like extended lifespans. Like,
yeah, I think they're about average.
Yeah, Krogans and blue chicks.
Yeah, they can live for over a century, or not a century, a millennia.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they said once you get over 800 to 1,000 years old, you become a matriarch. Just because of all of your wisdom that you've acquired over the centuries.
Well, that's why in Mass Effect 2 you meet the Patriarch, who is a really old Krogan. And Krogans do live quite a long time.
But they usually don't, because they're always in war.
Yeah, they're like this crazy space Mongolian race where, like, if you die in battle, that's honor.
Hi, Mongolian.
Yeah. And
but no, you're
to
probably...
live such a long age is, like, actually insulting to them.
I don't know. Maybe it's more like a war chieftain, but no, they'd probably expect you to go out first. I don't know.
Yeah.
But look at, who was that other race that was in The Asarians were the blue people.
Sorry, thank you.
And I can't remember the smaller people. They were extremely intelligent, but because their metabolism went so much faster.
Oh, Volus.
Yeah, 40. Oh no, the Voluses I think were those mole-looking people.
Yeah, okay, you're thinking of the Quarians.
I think so. Yeah, they're
like Tali.
No, not Tully. The kind of smaller people. They were their metabolism went so fast that their maximum life age was like 40. Yeah, they were the ones who created the genophage to kill off most of the Krogans.
Solarians.
Yeah.
Like Mortis.
Yeah. So,
I like Mortis.
But interesting people, love them to death. I love the stories of all these of the Mass Effect series. I thought it was wonderful until we got to the end and we don't talk about Andromeda.
Yeah. Like, I actually played during lockdown back in 2020. I actually, like, they had the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, and I played it all more or less in one sitting. Like,
that's a lot of gameplay.
Yeah. Like, I'd get up in the morning, I'd play Mass Effect, I'd occasionally eat and, like, take a smoke break, and then I'd go to bed. That was my day.
Well, during the lockdown, what else did you have to do? I swear, I thought some police would come by and be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm standing on my front porch. All right, but you take one step onto that grass.
Oh, yeah. It was, like, I actually remember, like, going out to get groceries or, like, liquor or anything, and it was like, okay, I gotta put on the mask. I gotta wear it out while I'm walking, which is stupid, because you're never going to... You were going to be over 6 feet away from everyone.
Yeah, this isn't the New York sidewalks or Chicago.
Yeah.
Nobody walks here if they can avoid it, because we're kind of far from everything.
We're in Joplin, which is not a particularly crowded town.
Especially after the tornado.
Yeah. Wow. That was also like 10 years before I moved in there, but
still, kind of destroyed a good 10% of the city.
Yeah, and they did more or less rebuild, but
it looks a lot nicer.
So yeah, that was my whole thing. I'd play that, or like usually Fallout, because you're never done playing Fallout.
I don't know. My friend Matt, he's played Fallout 4 and he's beat Nuka World, the main quest line. He has almost systematically went through and freaking done everything. But big surprise, 6 months later, he's completely burned out and doesn't even want to look at the game.
Oh yeah. Like, that is the whole thing. Like, I'll finish a playthrough and I'll just be like, I want to play anything other than Fallout right now, because
it's a disease, I swear, because I do the same thing with Skyrim. I'm like, you know what? I feel like playing Skyrim, and for like a month and a half, I'll get on there, I'll play 2 or 3 hours a day, or longer if it's the weekend, and I'm lonely, I have nothing else to do. We have no social life.
We really don't.
Please, somebody love us.
Like, I wanted to blame, like, lockdown and COVID on everything, but no, I was pretty pathetic before that.
But we'll play that, and then after about a month and a half, I'll grind my blacksmithing so much. I'm like, oh my god, I finally got it to 100. I can create god tier weapons. Screw this game, I'm not touching it. Yeah. And then like a year later, oh yeah, I remember playing Skyrim. I don't remember this save. It says I put 45 hours into it. I must not have known what I was doing. I'm gonna reset.
Yeah.
And then all that grinding and effort for nothing.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I played like the entire Mass Effect trilogy, probably within the span of about 2 weeks.
That sounds about right. I bought the same thing, and they even include the DLC, which is nice. I had a lot of fun with it.
It is really cool. Because before that, the only game I'd really played was Mass Effect 2, which I liked a lot.
Well, one of the reasons you never played 1 is they never released Mass Effect 1 for the PlayStation.
Yeah, no, you had to get, like, this huge compilation thing.
Yeah, so you had to get it on Xbox if you wanted to play the first one, which I had a 360, so I played the first one. People in Job Corps were playing it, and I looked at it and went, that looks kind of cool. I should try that sometime. But I was playing Dragon Age, so...
Well, it's like, it kind of feels like a love letter to, like, Star Trek and, like, old sci-fi stories. And I always
Oh
kinda
my
had a
god,
fondness for that.
I just got this. So, Shepard then is William Shatner, and you really are laying a blue alien.
Yeah.
I just got that.
I thought that was obvious.
Well, because
Also,
I never watched Star Trek growing up, so I didn't understand the joke. Oh, I guess the captain's sleeping with all the aliens. I heard the joke, never really clicked for me.
Oh yeah, no. William Shatner was like smashing all the alien bitches.
Can you blame them if they look like whoever? Insert beautiful alien race here.
Yeah, they were all attractive. That was the one thing. Like, he's never like gonna see some like crazy crab people, but
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe the man has a type, and we haven't seen it yet.
yeah. The only type he has is ones who are willing to say yes. But at the same time, it really did feel like a little Star Trek homage, and I liked it. I liked it a lot, and yeah, you're right, it's cool that you can pick up any Mass Effect game, and you know how it plays because you played the first couple, so you know.
Yeah, they've added a few things like scanning in the second game, and then they realized their mistake and took it out in the third, thank God.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how long I spent just going to planets and like, oh God, I need beryllium or whatever to upgrade my shields. Scanning. Oh God, it's been 3 hours. Can I stop? Finally, I can afford the upgrade. Oh crap, the next one needs more. Damn it.
Yeah. And like you just, I don't know, if it weren't for the whole probing Uranus thing, which is an actual joke that Edie will like be like, Shepard.
Don't get me wrong. I'm glad even the game is self-aware. Like, oh God, no, I can't believe he actually took that option. I'm very happy, but at the same time, that's glad to know stupid jokes like that will outlive us all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do like, they do have changes and quirks, and it does switch off and on. I do appreciate that, because sometimes you want to like pick up a new game and be like, this is going to play a lot like the last one I bought.
Right, like Assassin's Creed. Oh, can I jump and climb things? Well, of course you can. That's exactly what this game does.
And Assassin's Creed's really good.
Yeah, I think we talked about that during our Pirates episode.
Yeah, because there was Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Oh yeah.
But
what about the Yakuza games? You've played, 7, 8 of them? How are they?
I've played all of the American releases. They do have some that are Japanese exclusive. I haven't played those, but I've played all the other ones.
So do they all play basically the same? I know they've added new gimmicks and stuff, because every franchise has to do that, especially going from generation to generation of consoles.
Yeah. Well, and they did switch engines around the time Yakuza 6 came out. So that and Judgment and Kiwami 2 and Like a Dragon, which is pretty much Yakuza 7. They all like have this totally different engine, but it plays out pretty similarly. It's just very clunky, and I don't like it as much.
But, I mean, is there really any difference? Like, if you were to play Yakuza 2 or 3 and then jump to 7, could you just basically jump to any game in the series and it be familiar enough that you really don't have any problems?
Well, to be fair, you actually had really bad, like, random generation there, because Yakuza 7, which is the last game that we've had released, actually plays out a lot like Persona. It's like a straight-up turn-based RPG.
Wow, so it is very different. Is it the only one like that?
Yes, it is. Like, they have made one game since called Lost Judgment, which has nothing to do with Yakuza as a series, but it's set in the same universe. And they actually like keep the action beat 'em up style in that. But yeah, they're planning on the actual main Yakuza series to now play like a turn-based RPG.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked a lot of the turn-based. I've played Final Fantasy 3 and for the Game Boy, and I really liked it. And the fact that everyone is doing their hardest to never go back to that disappoints me a little bit. Or
Yeah.
even the semi turn-based, like KOTOR or Dragon Age Origins. Everybody wants to get away from that too.
Yeah,
I loved that.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's kind of weird because you dislike the fact that the Dragon Age series goes in a different direction. Meanwhile, the Yakuza series goes in that goes to that direction.
I wonder if it's a difference, like Japanese people prefer the turn-based and Americans don't. I wonder if that's part of it. Like, it could be a cultural difference.
Maybe, but at the same time, I mean, we both like that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, if we like it, there's probably a lot of other people that like it.
Or maybe we're just getting old, and we already knew we were weird.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I just can't help but think, I don't know, maybe the Japanese don't give us enough credit because that is exactly why it took a long time for Yakuza 5 to come out.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of Americans didn't want to play the game at the time. Because didn't you say that was a problem? Just nobody seemed to be buying it or paying it any attention.
Well, and there was a niche market for the Yakuza games at the time, simply because it, for the same reason I got into it. It feels like a really good, like, foreign crime drama. But at the same time, then they made Dead Souls, which was, like, cashing in on the whole zombie craze at the time. They had, like, Dead Island, Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead. Lots of dead things. But,
And no stick to poke them with.
I know, you got a lot of sticks to poke them with, but...
Oh, wait, we got the stick of truth. Haha! Whack!
Yeah. But, it came out, and nobody wanted to buy it because we didn't play Yakuza games so we could shoot zombies.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the Yakuza engine was designed so that you could do close quarters combat, like hand-to-hand stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. You don't really get guns in Japan. Those are very hard to come by.
Well, you had guns in the Yakuza games, but they were real janky, and you had to reload them after every battle. It was not fun.
Oh, no, you actually have to reload guns. How terrible.
Well, I mean, it would cost money, and it would be really expensive, whereas you could just beat someone into submission, and it would work out so much better.
That's right. Oh, look, here's a 2x4. Whack!
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
So yeah, they had guns, and that's not why you play Yakuza. And a lot of executives at Sega decided, well, if we can't sell a zombie killing game with shotguns and pistols to Americans, we need to, get away from the U.S. because, we obviously can't make a profit off of it.
If only, again, they had asked, people like us, the Joe Everyman.
Yeah,
No,
what do you want to see in the Yakuza series? I want to
Um,
punch a bunch of random Japanese gangsters.
What do you want to see in a Yakuza game? How about the Yakuza? The whole reason we're playing this. Hey, you're playing a true crime game. What do you want to see? Puppies.
Yeah.
No,
actually,
that's not it.
I don't know about that. I'd be totally down for puppies in a true crime game.
Oh, yeah, break up the monotony of gangsters shooting cops and stuff like that, but that's not why you play the game.
Yeah. To be fair, they had that in Grand Theft Auto 5. You could play as Franklin and play with Chop and take him on a walk and stuff.
Aww.
But at the same time, you didn't buy Grand Theft Auto 5 in order to play with your dog. You played it in order to do a bunch of crazy bank heists.
Well, I think this episode has gone on for quite a while, and we still have a lot to talk about, so this is going to be not only our first two-parter episode.
Oh yeah, because there is one particular series that we intentionally avoided, and
We're going
keep
to
in mind, I like my zombie games.
we do.
I like my PS1 games. So a couple of savvy listeners might know what we're getting at here.
That's right. And we're going to have a special guest, our first one on our next episode, who has played more of this series than anyone that I've personally seen.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. Well, with the earlier ones. We've also played the later ones. And in fact, I beat number 4 just yesterday. So if anybody knows what's going on, I bet you're excited to hear what we're going to talk about next time.
Hey, wait, one second. Since we talked about Dragon Age, how do you feel about Rendon Howe in Origins?
Rendon Howe. Oh, yeah, he was pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked him quite a bit. Oh, that was Tim Curry.
I love the plug-in. Yes, we do like Tim Curry a lot around here.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to make it a running joke that we always mention Tim Curry, and there's not a whole lot of video games he was in, and we both actually loved Dragon Age, so I figure.
Oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if he played a zombie in our next series?
It would, but at the same time, we're gonna have to really shoehorn him in. Tim
We'll
Curry,
find a
we
way.
love you. Please
We-
come on our show.
I know we're small time, but yeah. All right. Well, next time we're going to have our part 2, and again a special guest, and we hope you listen and enjoy.
It's not Tim Curry,
Oh,
but he's also really cool.
yeah. So once again, I'm Andrew,
I'm Patrick.
and thank you for listening. Hey everybody, Andrew from Alleyway Conversations here. Just letting you know we do have a Patreon page and we would love to have you join, whether just to look for updates, release schedules, or if you'd like to support us, we would be happy with anything and everything you can do for us. I know me and Patrick would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a wonderful day.